Oh man, we've got a lot to talk about here on this Wednesday episode of Unfair Sports and the Sooner or Later Sports Show. Thank y'all for pulling up. I am your host, Jay. Thank y'all for coming here on the YouTube channel and listening wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to. While you're here, please wipe your feet, like, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5 stars. You think we deserve it? Let's go ahead and give us 5 anyway. And gifted music decided to come real low, but hey, I got a special guest with us today. We got a good friend of the show, one of y'all's favorite, your favorite YouTuber's favorite YouTuber, Sean, aka Oki.
I mean,
don't turn around, Ikuno.
Someone else is coming on the show. So someone else is coming on the show, right?
No, we're talking about you.
I ain't no one's favorite anything. I'm just
lies on the internet. Do you not lie on YouTube? Like, supposedly Google frowns upon those type of lies.
I mean, I've lied. I guess you could say I lied whenever I said Oklahoma won a football game and they didn't. But
does that count?
I don't know. Like I predicted we beat Kansas and Oklahoma State last year. So if you want to consider those lies, then sure, why not? But I think the biggest lie I've had over the last few years is like after we beat Nebraska in 2022 is this is what close looks like. Oh, yeah. That hurt. I go back and watch it. I'm like, oh, I didn't know what was coming.
You know what was coming. And I hate doing that. I mean, I've thrown some of the predictions out there and gotten a little wild with it. And it's like, yeah, so my bad, guys. It's literally the only thing I can think of, right? Just hit them with the my bad. I didn't really mean to do that to ourselves. But no, we got a fun episode for y'all, man. We're going to talk transfer portal stuff. Of course, I had to drop a video about it. I couldn't wait because the excitement's too high, especially because we've got these transfer players showing up for the spring game, which we'll talk about that, whether it's going to be crazy or whatnot. Are you going to fly in for that?
For the spring game?
Yeah.
People ask me if I'm going to fly in for this. I did it one time, and the only reason I went to that spring game is tragically my grandmother had passed away. And so it was kind of, well, this was years ago. This is the 2019 spring game, but it was like an added kind of, I hate to say bonus. It was like, well, since I'm here,
may as well stick around, right?
Like I met up my buddy Josh, and we went to this. It was like a night spring. It was like a great atmosphere, and I was like, look at these 3 5-star wide receivers making plays. They're going to be no, didn't work out. But other than that, it was like great. It was a fun time. But
no, I bet I wouldn't doubt it, and it's sad to hear the circumstances, but it's glad that you actually made it. And so, but you're not going to come back out, and that's okay. We won't be mad. But the good thing is
potentially going to be there for a certain game. Some crimson, like if you want to see me at a game that's crimson on crimson, hint, there's a potential I'll be there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a potential I will be there. So
nothing
official yet. Nothing official yet, but I might be there. Crimson on crimson, SEC.
That would actually be really good because, we would all like to see you here for some crimson on crimson action. All right. We got a lot to talk about, though. Spring game. Weather looks like it's kind of questionable. It's going to be cold. It's going to be gross. It's like 80 degrees right now. And we don't get this weekend. But it's cool. It's Oklahoma.
I think I still have some of my old field gear when I was at Fort Bragg years ago. So I could just
really?
If I just reenacted, just I get the camouflage poncho out and make a little makeshift tent. So I vaguely remember still how to put those together, vaguely, and I mean vaguely. But
vaguely,
yeah. So it's like the things I remember. It's like how to pick up garbage on the ground. They really put that into you in the Army. It's like police call. It's like okay. If I see something on the ground, I'm like I gotta pick it up, throw it away.
Yep. Just. That's that natural instinct you have,
Yeah, I can't do it. So it's like, there's a piece of paper. It's like I'm not trying military stories. My favorite thing a drill sergeant ever said. We were like in a day room. I was at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and everyone was making a bunch of noise, and I'm like, oh boy, I know what's about to happen.
Uh-oh.
And I'll try not to use language on here. It's like, hey, y'all don't shut the F up right now. We're going to go outside and do something really stupid. Like pick up rocks and shit.
Wow.
And everyone shut up. So because he was trying to talk to someone on the phone about what we're going to do next or whatever. He was just we're just going to pick up rocks.
Pick up rocks. That's
you had to be there.
Cruel and unnecessary torture there.
Yeah. was gonna go pick up rocks for no reason. But yeah, spring game on Saturday. Yeah, it's. I'm guessing it's gonna like it's. The particular is like 1/4 inch of rain, so it's like to me that says like it's gonna be drizzly and just like miserable.
Yeah,
And
yeah. And it's supposed to be like a high of just about 60 degrees, 58 or something like that. So it's going to be just overall gross, right? Not that it's going to be bad. It's just going to be gross. So
yeah. So I mean, I know there was talk about maybe moving it to Friday, but
yeah,
you got forget portal guys. You got like 2026 guys coming in. You got other commits coming. So you don't want to mess that up if you don't have to, because like the last thing you want to do is ruin a kid's trip who may or may not have an impact. And you're just all I know is that like I live in Orlando where it rains every day around 3:00, so I'm just used to that by now. And so it's like, oh, it's going to rain. You say, okay. I mean, the softball team will figure that out next weekend. But it's just one of those things where it's like, all right, you drive on, you bring a poncho if you really want to see it, and then everyone's going to leave at halftime anyway because that's how these spring games work. You're gonna watch 1.5 quarters, and you're like, okay, we're done.
The question is how much drinking that a lot of these people are going to be doing at this festivity, because they're going to have like all the stuff outside. Like they're supposed to be busy. Supposed to be like feeling like you're quote unquote tailgating in preparation for an actual game. Now, granted, we need to go ahead and up our tailgate game going into the SEC, because I've been to a few SEC campuses and enjoyed some tailgating. I've seen Alabama's. I've been to Tuscaloosa. I've been out to Death Valley. I've been to Neyland Stadium in Knoxville. It's like,
I've been to Augusta, Georgia in 2005, and it's not even Athens, and they got this thing called the Border Bash for the Carolina game that they do every year, and that's a huge get together type of thing that they do. Yeah, 2005 was a good year for Georgia, not a great year for OU, and like me going to a local bar is like, can I just have one corner TV to watch them lose to UCLA, please?
Yep.
I will stay and buy food all day. Can I? That was back in the day where it's like you still had ESP, or you had to go to a sports bar unless you had like ESPN pay-per-view. You had to pay like $200 for like the ESPN extra regional channels. God, I love the world we live in now. It's so much better.
Beautiful. But to add to that though, with it being that weather, this is going to be the largest visitor list I've seen on multiple different stations. Shout out to my guy PG over at the PG show. He has we've been compiling a list together as well for kids that have all confirmed that they're going to be there. I'm going to pull up our list that we've compiled or whatnot. And yeah, it's long. Like, it's long.
Yeah. To me, 2026 is not a real year. So I share the sentiments
here.
I share the sentiments with a fellow Shibe. But it's just one of those things where it's like you're focused on 25. There's some big fish out there that you want to get. You really need to hit home runs on offensive tackle. Despite the portal, you need to hit home runs in 25.
Yep.
You need to with the portal, you got not one, not two, but 3 highly coveted defensive tackles. And I know there's people out there who's like, but David Stone and Jane Jackson they're freshmen. So
yep.
I don't want David Stone, Jane Jackson getting 350 snaps unless they just happen to be them, you know, like, and I think they will be them. But if a Dominic Williams wants to come to Oklahoma and, like, you know, because losing Jacob Lacey really sucks.
It did.
And I don't think people truly, well, he was a so-so guy for, and I was like, dude, like, he was a solid player, and if you take away his sack on that final drive against Texas, we ain't having a happy conversation about beating them like all offseason, like I like to have. So I appreciate Jacob Lacey and what he did, but you still have to replace that body. If they go out and get 2, I think you don't bring in 3 if you don't like intend to try to get 2 of those guys, in my opinion. So
no, I 100% agree there.
So
and let's talk about the portal guys. We actually had the question coming from David Wood. Shout out to him on this one real quick on who are the portal D tackles we're looking at. So Philip Bleedy is pulling up from Indiana. He's got 1 year left, grad transfer, roughly about 295. He's probably one of the smaller dudes we're bringing in. Then you've got Dominic Williams out of TCU. He just hit the portal earlier this afternoon. 3 hours later, he's set up a visit to come this weekend, which
like
is
all the Meerkats went up and went, what?
Like, wait, what? Like, wait, like he literally just like he just hit the portal? How did he already? We won't go into details. But that's what we've got. And then you got Jermaine Lowley from Louisville. He was a transfer from Arizona State, went to Louisville. He scheduled his, which I think he went into the portal today, didn't he? Or was it yesterday?
I thought he was fairly recent though.
He
Within the last week.
He was in the last 2 days. So when the portal opened, he was within that day or two period that he announced he was going to hit the portal.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm fuzzy on stuff myself. But like, does he have a little bit of an injury history, or am I off on that?
I think he did at Arizona State. I have to go search it. That's a good question. I didn't look
so
that
I'm not,
up, but he did play last season. He played all of last
season.
Okay,
like I said, I'm not against getting guys, but it's like, you just like the worst thing is like if anything's nagging or re-aggravated, and because you just don't know, like like Troy Everett, for example, be getting hurt, like he might be back, you don't know, but even if he does come back, is he gonna be 100%? That's why got the Hickman kid coming in from SMU, who I just, am I wrong to assume that one is just we're just waiting to make it official? He's coming to visit, and it's like he's coming to Oklahoma, because it doesn't sound like he's making any other trips. Like, why would you? Like, there's an obvious spot there. It just feels like that one's imminent. Maybe I'm wrong.
As one of the top centers in football at the time he played via PFF, like graded wise, he's fantastic, and he gave us a little bit of hell when we played against him. But no, as you said that, I know that he did a visit to Arkansas right after hitting the portal, but I haven't heard about him going anywhere else after that besides visiting us. So to me, is if he made it to Arkansas in February and it's now April and he has not committed anywhere.
I mean, he got scared up by the Whoopig Suey people, because they can scare you off. Like, I love Arkansas. Arkansas is a great program. They are an arrogant SEC program who thinks they're really good just by the vicinity of being next to Oklahoma. Because I think they think they're Oklahoma good based on just to, I love whenever Arkansas fans says, "You stole Barry Switzer from us." Like, yeah, I know. It's great.
Yeah. And you are right about Lowley. He did have injury problems until last season at Louisville. He played 12 of their 14 games, 9 starts.
Well, if they get two out of those 3, regardless, I think you solidify your D tackle room, and the pressure of David Stone and Jaden Jackson needing to be those dudes as true freshmen. Like, I think OU fans need to understand, it's like, I will take Jaden Jackson, David Stone getting 100, 150 snaps and looking like the future, as opposed to needing to be those guys right now. Mm-hmm. And one thing I've been kind of like, I don't think this is like a brilliant epiphany. It just kind of makes sense, but we're going into a new era of the sport where I don't know if it's going to be this year, but at some point you want to be the handful of teams that makes a deep run in this playoff.
Yeah.
And in order to make a deep run this playoff, you need to have quasi, semi elite depth almost everywhere. So, and which I think at some point everyone's going to get together and says, this 85 scholarship thing ain't enough. We need to bump it up to like 95, 100. I think that's coming eventually, because they'll realize, oh, wait, remember when playing one major bowl game was tough? Well, you're going to be playing 3 of those if you want to win the whole damn thing.
Nothing wrong with that.
So but you might want to up your scholarship limitation and just a little bit, so you can like have the depth, because guys are going to tweak an ankle. Guys are going to just get dog tired. Like, I don't care who you are, unless you're just like a physical beast like an Adrian Peterson or something like back in the day, you are going to need guys to take a rest on the sideline, and like, you need to have that depth in the fourth quarter. So, if you get 2 out of these 3 guys, if you especially get Dominic Williams, and I think there's a lot of emphasis on trying to get him now, because the word on the street, it's 2 teams, OU and Texas. You don't want him to go to the other one. If he goes to the other one, if you go to the other one, then it's like, oh, we get to play him in Dallas, because word on the street for Texas is that we really love everything. D tackle's really sucking right now, so they're going to be
a little brutal for them at this point.
Yeah, so I know they're heroes from last year that did a great job on that goal line attempt to try to lead block, but it just didn't work out. I mean, I feel bad for him.
Same, and the good thing, as you mentioned, so we want Dominic. He's probably the one that we're probably coveting the most, just because Look at him. He's like big meat.
I mean, he hurt
Right.
our feelings in 2022, but I can't hold it against him. So
That's true. He was a freshman All-American in 22 and 23. He was an All Big 12 selection. Tells you everything you need to know about him. But I want to talk about Jermaine Lowley too, real quick, because I know we're high on Dominic, yeah. But when I saw this, right? I saw this. We talked about this a little bit in Discord, in a couple of Discords that I'm in.
That's a busy week.
That's a busy week, man. Like, look at this. If he's coming here the 19th, meaning he's going to be here for the game. So he's not leaving probably the evening of the game, I don't anticipate, but he may try to make a flight to Seattle, right, that night. If he does that, that's kind of absurd. So I sense the 21st, he'll fly out. Half a day in Washington, full day. And then he's going to fly out at least the next morning and back to Texas, down to Texas, go to A&M, which means he's flying to Houston from Seattle. Half a day and then the day visit, and then fly out the next morning to Southern California.
I didn't know NIL paid for private Gulf streams, man. I don't know.
It's gotta be, because, dude, I'm tired thinking. I'm trying to figure out is he gonna? I know he ain't got direct flights.
Well, you get the only airline I know that gives direct flights to Oklahoma, where I'm from, is like Frontier, and they decided padding on your chair is not necessary on Frontier flights.
Yep.
Which to me is like a crime against humanity, let alone should be a federal crime. But
right.
I can understand the first two, but like you're gonna there's no like if you couldn't go to OU, then A&M, and then do your West Coast visits. It's like that. So someone's gonna owe this kid an apology if he takes all four of these visits.
Yeah, man, this was just very bad scheduling. So in stating that, it seems like it doesn't make sense. What's the chances of him actually making all these visits, right?
I can see him making the first two.
And honestly, I could see him making the first one, because this is my thing. He's from California. So I understand the USC, because he's from Paramount, California. So I understand the USC allure. But if he could just come here only, why not? Just stay. Move in tomorrow.
Again, I'm not like I said, I'm not against any of these guys making the choice after. Because from what I get, just over the years, it's like when it comes to recruiting out of high school, getting the last visit usually is the best way. But when it comes to portal, you kind of want to be that first visit, because it's more, for whatever reason, portal, they want to get crap done first or get it out of the way as soon as possible. That's why I'm loving that Dominic is coming to OU first, and you just never know. But how that's going to go. If he takes the first visit to Texas, I'll be like, well, here we go. But
that's what I'm waiting for is to see if that actually, which I sense that may not happen. I've heard smoke for USC, haven't heard any smoke for Texas, but
all you gotta do is show that there's the guy that Lincoln banned from his presser wrote an article about how crap the NIL is with USC. So it's there's a little revenge. That's what happens when you screw over your media sometimes. But that could have come out at a worse time when you're trying to. Now I know recruiting is allegedly going well for him right now. I think someone asked me, "What do you think about the recruiting lately?" I'm like, I don't know. The dude's always had guys. He's always had the ability to get guys at times. So he just can't develop them.
Yeah, that's always been the issue. Now, we'll see if this new staff can actually do that and make it happen. So, of course, the last one, besides Bleedy, the offensive lineman everybody's asking about, this is the man himself. This is Branson Hickman. I said Brandon on one of my videos. My bad. Branson, 6'3", 294. He went to, Jesuit College Prep. That's where he went to JUCO, went over there to SMU and did well. And he's at a position that we really need. Center.
Yeah, we didn't quite need it a couple weeks ago till we did. And if you can nab him, because I've been repeating like a parrot for the past 4 or 5 months. I think the interior of the offensive line is going to be really good for OU. I know it's they're replacing all these. I know. But I love the interior pieces. You can put together a really good, and because you have multiple, whether you got to play a true freshman down the road or the guys that you have there, like a Heath Ozeta or a Febechi. Oh,
Yep, I
why
bet you
woo, way woo, way woo. Okay, I'm gonna butcher that still to the end of time. But like if he starts, open up like holes in the middle or guard tackle counters or whatever, great. But I love the interior. It's just the tackle spots that is the one, and we still got like 12 days for the portal to be open. So
Yep.
as I've said before, I've been sailing on a daily basis. Tamper like a champion today, Brent Venables. You've been accused of doing it your whole coaching career. Might as well lean into it. If there's like a kid at Wisconsin, if there's like a nasty run blocking right tackle at Wisconsin or whatever, that just go for it. We need all the help we can get. So.
And in speaking of that, man, I mean, there's a lot of Big Ten, big offensive linemen that I would love to get my hands on. We may as well go ahead, pick up the phone and say, hey, you want to go start in the SEC? I mean, I know that they're the other premier conference. Sure.
Do you want to be in the Big Ten? Well, the Big Ten West doesn't exist anymore. But do you want to be in a Big Ten West school and just kind of like float around, or do you want to play where you can you want to play a fun schedule where people be watching? Just throwing that out there as a possibility.
Do you want to play on a fun schedule where people are actually watching?
I don't know. It's like, I mean, I know the Big Tens get a little more interesting because they have a bunch of West Coast schools now, but come on now. It's like the regionality of the SEC is what makes sense. So at least they're expanding their footprint like border to border at least. So at least it stretches out. At least it makes sense.
Right.
Like the SEC isn't like grabbing Hawaii or something, even though I think that'd be a very smart move.
I would totally do it. That's a great game to go to.
Or if like there's like the University of Bahamas or something, that'd be a smart move too. I don't know.
Oh, actually, yeah, going to one of the schools on the islands that direction. University of Puerto Rico. Just put a university out there.
Yeah, exactly. It's U.S. territory. Doesn't have to do all the state taxes thing or whatever. That gets to get all the benefits of a state without actually paying for stuff. It's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just like, or Key West wants to put up a school one day, start a football program.
Cayman Islands.
Just like, you're still in your region. It's very important.
I actually like that idea. But so going into the spring game, let's dive into that. Thank y'all for pulling up. Hit that like button if you're new to the channel, please sub. But check out Onikuno as well. Go show him some love on the great videos he makes. He always gives us a good rant. He typically schedules them.
I don't. You need to stop that right now. I'm like, I have people like, when's your next rant? Like that's not how that works. Like
the rants are always epic.
Well, no, because like people like the Texas one was easy because it's like okay, I can rip on Texas because like there's like an invisible, like if like right here there would be like an invisible meter that just fills up.
Yes.
Like you're familiar with Mob Psycho 100? When the meter kind of fills up a little bit and it gets all the way. That's when then a Texas rant comes out because usually I've heard one too many Arch Manning piece.
Oh God.
About how he's the crown prince of football. No, the one that really got things going was the Ari Wasserman clip I saw in January, where I just lost my mind because it was just about because his school, the University of Arizona, is like his coach left, and he's like, oh my, now a school. How can you have hope when your coach can just like poach your players that take him with it, take his players with him to another school? How do you have hope? And I'm just like, oh, so now we're having this conversation.
Now we want to talk about
it's not fair for coaches to take high caliber players with them. When is that? It was like, all right, I have some words. And then I just kind of, and I realized it's like, I still want to make monetization. So I'm going to bleep out all the F words as much as possible.
Yeah, that's true. And that's always the hard part. It's if you want
to, which by the way, support your favorite college football channel. Support this one. Support mine. Yeah. We literally starve to death this time of year. Like we live in a cardboard box in an alley, and we don't get to live indoors.
You got a cardboard box?
I got 2 cardboard boxes. I was prepared this time. So, I got 2. So with the weather and everything.
So you're telling me I need to make it in the fall. Have my card box hotel prepared. So
you gotta be prepared for this thing. So it's like if you like the content in the fall, like in order to support, so it's got to be a year round thing. And we try. Like believe me, we're gonna get to the month of May. We're gonna be like, so do you like the color red? Which is your favorite red colored team? Like and subscribe. Comment below. Please donate to my PayPal and Venmo and Cash App.
And there's
please
was your best.
Can someone in another school get a DUI? We could talk about that. Maybe he's suspended for the opener. I don't know. just like that's what May is going to be for a lot of people.
I see that. Gotta give this shout out real quick. Stink, thank you so much for the $50 supporting the channel.
See, that's what you should. That's what you should do.
Thanks for pulling up. It's been a bit. If you got a question, let us know. We're definitely going to. We'll answer it if you got one for me. Feel free to throw it in there. But spring game though, spring game, Sean. Let's talk about who are you on both sides of the ball, offense and defense. Give me one player that you want, or correction. What position group are you most intrigued about on the offense and defense going into this spring game? Because we know that it's not going to be the full playbook. It's going to be full-fledged vanilla, but it's going to be something perfectly prepared for the spring game. Which groups intrigue you, offense and defense? And since it's ones and twos, give me one for the ones and give me one for the twos. Let's start on the offensive side. Which one gets your attention?
Well, everyone wants to see the offensive line, obviously, to what it looks like. I just want to see how. I mean, if you want the two, I want to see how guys hold up. I want to see what the edge guys look like.
Ooh.
Because you want to, last year, I think myself and a lot of people were really hoping PJ was going to be that freshman phenom. He wasn't quite that, but he had the flashes. He almost got Quinn at the end there. God, that would have been a beautiful cherry on top of the sundae if he had gotten Quinn. But regardless, we knocked down a Hail Mary pass, which you couldn't shove an amoeba up what on my body if that during when the ball was in the air at that moment. It was I just want to see what the edge guys look like. I want to see what the kid from Miami of Ohio looks like. I want to see just I know obviously we kind of, if Ethan Downs is going to be, I don't know how he develops. It's just all this, but like Armace Thomas, like there's all these guys. Like the one thing we really missed last year on one side of the football was like a really consistent pass rush. And on the other side, I won't go O-line because we all know that's the obvious. Like I want to see what the tight ends look like. I want to see Bauer Sharp make some plays. Davon Mitchell, of course, he was like, I literally get in arguments with people whether he was a 5-star or not. I just want to hit my head against the wall. He wasn't a 5-star. It's like he was a 5-star before he reclassified. No, he was only and then there's like 15 people telling this person that he was a 5-star because everyone acknowledged him and it's just, I hate Twitter so much.
I've done those arguments numerous times too on the bond.
And I'm like, I'm not yelling. I like if this was 10, 15 years ago, I would be like the biggest jerk. I still am kind of a jerk, but I would just be the biggest jerk. Is like, look stupid. Like I would just go off. You need to know these things. I see if there's one mistake I made, it's like everyone needs to know everything. Like it's like, no, you don't. Like there are casuals out there. It's fine. You can be casual all you want. It's when casual people get uppity, it's when I have a problem. Those are the ones that maybe go, you're not paying attention. But yeah, Bauer Sharp, Davon Mitchell, and kind of the tight end group just to see, and then I don't know, maybe Nate Roberts will take a peek out his window and realize, did I make a mistake? And then switch it up before we get to December. You never know.
That's a good point.
That's another thing I want to destroy certain fans. Like, gonna fire people losing Nate Roberts. Like, you calm down. It's gonna be all right.
There's another rant, right? Another rant incoming on that.
But that's when I start yelling at people and turning. I can't do that one. I gotta hold that one back. But we're like, if we really want Nate Roberts, you have a chance to flip him before December because he lives in the state. He's gonna go see his brother. I'm gonna take it. Yeah, he's gonna see his brother. And so if he doesn't flip, fine, because I look at it from the position that if Davon Mitchell hadn't reclassified, we would be trying to get both Davon Mitchell and Nate Roberts in the same class.
Yeah.
And not that you can't have two really good tight ends in one class. It's just that you can only get one guy the ball on the red because these guys want to make plays. I don't think Nate Roberts is just there to be a purely blocking H-back. He wants to make plays too. So now
he's trying to build himself up to be like the next Mark Andrews type setup. If we talk about a former Sooner great, which I get. And so to answer your question real quick, Corey, we got one come out here. Spring game. Neither one of us see them moving it to Friday.
They would have done it by now.
Yeah, because we're only 2 days away. They would have made the change. It appears that if anything, they'll move it back a little bit on Saturday, maybe an hour, move it from 1 to 2, which kind of hope they do. That makes us outside of that rain window, but I digress. I have a first and second group on offense and defense, because when I started thinking about it, I'm like, okay, it's all, it's red versus white. It's us versus us. That means we're going to see a lot of combinations. And so for me, I'm curious about the first team tight ends, just like you, Bauer Sharp. I'm kind of curious if it's going to be Bauer. I know that in practice there was a report that came out that they were running like a 2 and 3 tight end set at points just to test things out. Really got my attention, but I want to see if Bauer Sharp's really the real deal like he's been announced. But I want to know what that second team wide receiver room is going to look like. That intrigues me. If Deion Burks walked in like they said he did and basically claimed the stake, he planted the flag in there and said, this is my position. Good luck trying to take it from me. Who's going to be backing it up? Who's going to be the one that's going to plant their flag down and say, Farouk's out, I'm in. Give it to me. It's mine. Is it Petaway? Is it Brendan Thompson?
Ivan Carry-On?
Is it Carry-On? Right? I'm kind of intrigued in that portion of it. That second group of wide receivers is really going to jump out, especially with Michael Hawkins throwing them the ball, right? You got a mobile quarterback who's we're hearing reports. Arm is stupid. Vision is stupid. He likes to stay in the pocket, which, you would have thought as a scrambler he'd be moved around a lot. No, they say
which is really brave of him with this offensive line right now, the way it stands.
Especially with the second string offensive line. Because it's all young dudes, right? It's no shade to them.
I think Logan Howland is a fine human being, but PJ made him look like a child a couple times, what I saw.
He did. Woody Washington got him as well, unfortunately. But at the same time, this is also Howland's, second year playing tackle, playing offensive line, because he was a converted tight end.
Yeah. So
Can
we get a Tyrese Robinson in here, please? I'm begging you.
He knows that he needs work, which is the one thing I appreciate about him, is that he understands, no, I need a little bit more time because this is new to me, which I'm glad that he doesn't have the arrogance. But we need both Jakes to show out. We need Spencer Brown to show face. But the biggest thing for me is I do want to see what that offensive, that wide receiver second string room looks like. Defensively, though, Sean, I know you've been hearing about it. That safety room, Reggie Powers, he's moving up power rankings. We keep talking about him. His dad shows up, and I don't do it because his dad pops in.
If you have a time machine, I need to borrow it for two reasons. One, to get myself winning Powerball numbers. Number two, I need to go back and tell myself, when Brent comes back, when Brent comes back, what do you mean Brent? Just when Brent comes back, the safety room is going to be the best room on the defense. Wait, who are you? And what?
Exactly.
When did you get those new glasses? Anyway, the safety room is basically, arguably, maybe not even arguably at this point, the most loaded room on the defense. And it's like, we would have built a statue for Stephen Parker for knocking down that 2-point attempt against TCU a few years back. And now it's like, Billy Bowman could have easily gone pro and he came back. We got a 5-star in Peyton Bowen that we went on one hell of an adventure to get, but we got him.
Oh my God, that was so much fun.
I literally was like, it's like he hasn't signed his. I'm going to bed. We'll see what happens. And then the morning's like, oh, something's up. Anyway, but so we got him. He was a monster on special teams early. He was a little dinged up, but he played a lot. Reggie Powers has become that dude, and then Robert Spears Jennings, and it's like the fact that I can name guys that are making impacts or looking good, and you already know the established group. It's like, God, it just feels like yesterday we were just Pat Fields and Darren Turner yell, "No one behind them can play. Please don't get hurt." Like those days are gone now, and it's like that's what happens when you have a credible defensive coaching staff. But
doesn't it feel good? Now, even on that, so I got a hot take for you. Tell me if I'm crazy. You can tell me
you're crazy.
I probably am crazy. Thank you. I kind of confirmed that myself. But safety room, right? We talk about how good the safety room is and how exciting we are about that. I'm going to be honest. This is my starting lineup. Tell me if I'm crazy.
Oh, we're doing depth charts. Here we go.
Yeah, we're not going to go too far into it, but I'm going to tell you my safety one because I said it to somebody and they kind of looked at me like, really? I think free safety, you're going to be starting Robert Spears Jennings, and strong safety is going to be Peyton Bowen.
So Billy is gonna play Cheetah, or he's gonna play Nickel, or
Billy's going to float
he's gonna float.
wherever they decide to throw him at that time.
Like,
Because I say it this way.
like he's gonna float like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, is what you're
Yeah,
saying. He's saying.
exactly. He's going to levitate. And that's the thing. Billy kind of in a way has set himself up. We already know where he's going to be most likely draft wise, right? I don't think his grade this season is going to be any different. See, I didn't call you out, PG. You just called yourself out, buddy. I just said I was talking to somebody. It's your fault now. It's all on you, buddy. But no, but seriously, like I'm feeling that he's already basically set where he's going to be in the draft. The biggest thing that can help him draft wise, especially because of his size, is showing versatility. So why would you start him at strong safety when you really could just start inserting him in random places and he's going to go out there and make plays? And kind of like they're doing with Woody Washington now. And then you let Peyton Bowen start at strong safety. That would be kind of amazing. Am I crazy?
I don't think it's crazy. It just depends what you need to do with the other parts of the defense. Like I know, like you go back to the next level, like Deshaun McCullough's getting floated around different places. So I think it just and it's like this. The more you talk, this is a fun problem to have. But no, it's but it just feels like what are you gonna do with the Deshaun McCullough? Or you do the cheetah spot. So when you have like five 5 DB formations or whatever. So I mean. I just love the idea. Like, if you go to the spring game or watch a spring game, like, Brent ain't showing you shit.
You ain't gonna see anything out of that at all.
So, like, even in open practices, like, he's gonna show you a bunch of like random stuff that they're gonna report on, and because I love people always fall for the Jacob Texas play guard. It's like they're just chill. It's like just like they're just. This is stuff they do in spring all the time. It's like they put guys in different positions just to see what happens, and then they move back to whatever they're playing. But yeah, it's just there's a lot of toys in the toy box to play with on defense. It's like when you're a kid and you finally get all the Power Rangers, and then you can start working on getting your monsters you want to destroy with your Megazord. I'm making all sorts of references today, but it's very important to have a diverse roster of monsters to take down with your blazing sword, or power sword. Excuse me. I'm mixing up Voltron and Power Rangers. My bad, folks. It tends to happen when you get up in my age. But yeah, for the most part, it's just I'm all for experimentation, whatever works, and other different looks you can give people. And everyone's kind of leaning into the idea that the defense will be the strength of this team, which is not something you could say up. Like the last time you could actually really say that, like where it was the strength was 2009, in my opinion. That was the last year where you could up, because offensive line not great. Skill position players were like, if we had the skill, I think we had the skill guys we had today in 2009, we'd be able to do a lot better. Because like it was DeMarco and Broyles when he was healthy. That was kind of it in 2009 for skill guys. But yeah, it's just, again, you can do all sorts of things with this defense. You're talking about like Zach Alley and like some stuff he could do with 3-3-5. So I'm excited. I'm just excited
that Alley likes to go with like a 3 safety high setup too, especially on passing.
And you can do that with if you have the talent that you have in that room right now. So it's just, I want to get excited, but it's like we've had our feelings hurt before, and it's this is year 3 of Brent, and the one thing that irritated me to no end, like year 1, whenever OU would get talked about because they started losing. It's like, I think Brent Venables is like, it's year 1 and his side of the football, the defense is not doing well, because he literally had to strip the foundation bare because of what was left there. And it's like, I just wanted to choke people.
Yeah, I had rants on that as well, and that was the thing I kept pointing out. I'm like, guys, he said that when he came in his introductory press conference. He said he's ripping to the studs, and when he said that, I'm like, okay, we didn't take him literally, but then he literally did that, and so now.
And he was a nice guy, because he said, like, I'm going to give guys a year to see if they can, because we all knew who those guys were he was talking about. They were going to leave eventually because it was just. But he's like, I'm going to give you a year. I'm not going to force you out now. Because, like, then he said, I didn't do what Dion did. And that got him in all sorts of trouble with certain people.
Right, because he kicked, because Prime kicked out with 80-something dudes or whatnot, and completely refreshed.
Which I totally don't blame him for doing that either.
I mean, your team goes 1-11. What do you expect? Like, what am I supposed to do with that? Am I supposed to hang on to these players that went 1-11 last year? Am I supposed to give them the chance to show me that they're not 1-11, even though they just went 1-11? Doesn't work that way, right? But Steven, you asked a great question for the younger fans. Tell me what it's like to have a defense better than the offense. So
2009.
Honestly, between 06 and 09, let me put it this way. Let me put it into perspective for you guys, right? Last season when we played Tulsa, some of you've heard this story before, but I like to repeat this story because it reminds me of all the good stuff, right? When we played Tulsa last season, this past season, there were some interviews that were done with Kevin Wilson, right? Kevin Wilson back in 06 was the offensive coordinator for Oklahoma. And they talked about the relationship he and Brent Venables had. They loved each other, but they were very, very competitive. And Kevin Wilson was talking about how they had to move the ball physically up and down the field and run play scenarios from certain yard lines because they couldn't move the ball on Brent Venables' defense. The quarterback was Sam Bradford, guys. So that tells me everything I need to know about what Brent Venables is able to do. And it sounds like, coming to reports, defense is kind of similar to the way it was then, and the offense is having certain struggles. Now, we're bringing back 78%, 79% of our production from last season, meaning we are the team in the SEC with the most production returning. I'm going to say it's a big if, Sean. Tell me if I'm crazy on this one. If we're bringing back that much with these veterans and young players mixed in together, and we walk out there with the best defense in the SEC, won't that just make this offense even better because they're going against the best defense they're going to see this entire season?
I think Georgia is going to raise their hand and quietly step up to the podium about that best of the defense of the SEC and be like, I ain't going to go there yet.
Well, see, that's the thing about it. See, that's a fair statement, but at the same time, I will say, we do have Brent Venables, who has won national championships on the backs of those defenses, right? I mean, one of those was a defensive win. The other one was very happy. Battle.
I will be more than satisfied if it's like considered a top 3 defense in the SEC. I'll be more than satisfied for the season. It's like, doesn't mean I don't want to get better year by year and, and so forth. But it's like, if you told me, and it's like, if you can solidify that D-line room, like depth wise, it's going to be scary potentially.
And we're right there. And hence why we've got these guys pulling up for the game to talk, talk a little turkey.
I'm sure they're going to say, look, guys, Danny came back, Billy came back. There's a reason. And, we have some young pups who are going to be great. But if you want to fill those gaps for a year or two and be those guys who, like, I think like Vegas has this over under at like 7.5, which I think is like,
I saw it moved up on one book to 8.5.
Oh, well, at least there's something there. But to me, it's like one of my favorite things I saw yesterday. Josh McCush of the Scoop did an interview on 365.
Yep.
And two beautiful things happened. Like the main host is an older gentleman, I forget his name. He kind of said everything I've been feeling about national coverage of OU. We don't know much about Oklahoma this spring. And I'm like, wait, you don't? It's like, this is kind of the most open practices have been in like 20 years.
20 years.
Something like, because Bob shut down practices permanently after like 05. My dad used to go to the rugby fields and watch practice. That's how long under Stoops. That's how long ago it was. Where you could
wow.
Yeah, my dad, because my dad was like bored. He would go to Norman and watch practice. Like, yeah, that came to a stop. But it's like he's like, It's like, am I alone? This and everything. It's like, and then like Josh wanted to say, actually, it's been one of the more open practices ever. And my favorite part is that the graphic guy had one job. They said Josh McCush Sooner Scoop had a picture of Bob Brisbillo on there instead. So I saw that cracked up. I was just like, this is great. But it just like symbolizes everything about national coverage of OU this year. You see ESPN, the top 10 contenders for the national championship. What do they need in the portal? And I'm like, man, we're not even on that list. I mean,
at all.
okay, I guess that's fine, but it's like that's kind of where we're at. Like there's like there everyone's picked out their teams, and it's like okay, all right, because it goes back to the whole Texas and Oklahoma joined the SEC, but Texas is preseason top 5. They're going to do this, and then when Oklahoma gets talked about, we got to hear how tough the SEC is and everything. But that don't apply to Texas, so that's always been kind of my. I was like, okay, we'll see how that.
My favorite thing is we're going to go up against Tennessee. Former OU quarterback Josh Heupel,
which I think is going to be a much bigger game retroactively.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think it will be a big game because it will be for like we've in recent memory seen Tennessee come to Norman, so it's a big deal. But Heupel will be there as the coach, so it'll be.
Mm-hmm.
But
Joey Halsey is the offensive coordinator, former Oklahoma quarterback.
Speaking of bad takes, I think Joey Halsey is going to win the job in 2007. That was me.
You said that?
Well, wow. I didn't have a channel back then, but I was like, after watching the spring game, I like Joey Halsey. That didn't work out. But I think retroactively to the Tennessee-Oklahoma game will be a lot bigger, impactfully down the road. So you got 2 big-time quarterbacks that people have you got Nico and Jackson Arnold, and I know the front for the defensive line for Tennessee is nasty, but the back end needs work. So I think that will be retroactively a game that people go, it's way more important than we probably realized at the time. But it's just OU's got a lot of big games. A lot of big games at home, big games on the road. Texas has. I love when they talk about Georgia, but they ignore who they played the week before sometimes. That always makes me smile whenever I hear that. I was like, okay, there's that. So, and to be fair, look, if you just told me straight up, if we're just talking legit schedules, Florida's down. They got Vanderbilt. Arkansas is, look, who knows what Arkansas is going to like. We didn't expect Arkansas to whoop Texas as bad as they did a couple years ago. But you just go, if you look through the schedule,
keeps his job.
Yeah, but if you just look at the schedules honestly, and I'm being honest here, the Texas schedule outside of like that monster back-to-back in Dallas and coming home to Austin is very manageable. The reason I harp on that a lot, because for 20 plus years I've heard how tough the SEC is and how you got to just walk in and do this and that. Well, apparently Texas can and Oklahoma can't. So that's my whole thing. So it's like you either have to. It's like the button meme. You got to like push one of the 2 buttons. SEC not that hard, or the schedules are what they. It's like you got to pick your button type of meme. So I just like I said, if this team goes 9-3 next year for whatever reason, like I will scream they should be in the 12-team playoff. I don't care because I've been told how tough our schedule is. I've been told where it ranks. I've been told this. If it's 9-3, you should be on the short list of getting that 11th or 12th spot, depending how you make it. So, but like this dude keeps on popping in your chat, like reminding people how we haven't won a natty, and it's like he keeps on doing it. It's hilarious
it cracks me
to
up.
me.
Yeah, I get at least 1 or 2 random Texas trolls.
Y'all won championships in 2000. Like, you're right.
But look at our record the last 10 years. Like we're 7-3. We go back after this past season's win. You go back 10 years, still 7-3. Even when we lost to Texas, the record before that was what? 7-3. It's like a consistent 7-3 ownage of Texas. It's just,
my favorite Texas troll lately, who's like, he's obsessed with how many 3-stars we have in this current class.
Yep.
And so I was like, and he's like, congratulations on your 6 3-stars. And to which I responded, well, your coaches and players are conditioned to be congratulate our 3 stars in October every year. So why don't you just wait till then?
Thank you.
It's like you're using
for some reason y'all can't beat the 3 stars. Why not?
I trust me. There's plenty of 3 stars on that field that you lost to last year.
Oh yeah, owned you. That's the best part. Is we do a good enough job to own those players. So we won't. We don't feed the trolls here. That's hence why I haven't said anything. I just think it's funny. I don't mind it. They're giving me.
I was like, get some new material.
Yeah,
one day since 2000.
Please, tell me about, you got to find a way to tell me how we suck, in compared to you. I mean, when I can say 7-3, I'm
just glad Texas actually knows what it feels like to win a Big 12 championship and lose in the playoff.
I'm so proud of them.
It's like they finally know what it feels like now.
Yeah, it's funny because Big 12 championships don't matter technically, but they were celebrating, made T-shirts and everything.
Yeah,
remember that?
I got like two 2010 t-shirts in my closet. So I still like it. I don't know. I really like that one for some reason. It's good design. I got two of those. So I break it out once in a while.
You know, it
But
always feels good to be able to show, you know, that you got a big trophy case, 50 conference championships, considered the third greatest college football program of all time, you know, in history, because, you
oh
know,
god,
we still hold the record for most wins in a row. So there's a lot of things to
that
say about
that
Oklahoma.
list,
But
it's like that list came out and I'm like, everyone was mad about it. I was like, I think the top 5 is actually just perfect.
I thought it fit well. Like I could probably interchange us, and we can go into that. And I think it's a good conversation piece. I'll pull up
Like you can flip OU and Ohio State all you want, honestly, if we're being real.
Or
like,
even OU and USC. Honestly, you kind of could flip them as well, right?
People are going to hate me for this, but I actually think pre Nick Saban at Bama, if you argued SC number 1, I would listen to the argument. I would generally listen to it because, like, I'm a CFP historian buff, and it's like you know, like Bama and a bunch of other schools have a bunch of like natties where they lose bowl games, like not SC. Or it's like if they went to the if they had a natty year and they went to the Rose Bowl, they tend to have won the Rose Bowl. So it's like, you know, they got an argument if you want to like combine all these things. But it's like, you know, teams that win natties pre bowl games going to win their bowl game, they tend to like hold a little bit more water, in my opinion, because it's like you were the national champion and you lost. So kind of hate me. Yeah, so there it is.
Here's the list. I pulled it up, had the picture. Yeah, I agree.
You can't put Georgia in the top 10. That's I'm sorry. Like you can't do it historically. Now, at first I was like, you can't do LSU, but when I thought about it, it's like, you know,
21st century LSU kind of deserves it just because of what they've done just this 21st century and how statistically they're still up there because they've put a lot of people in the NFL. Like, so the criteria was what intrigued me the most. The criteria listed like championships, winning percentage, wins all time, number of draft picks in the NFL, number of All-Americans, all of that stuff. LSU has everything except for the titles, and then they haul off and get 3 titles from 3 different head coaches, in which 2 of them we think are boobs, and only one of them's good because he's the greatest of all time. Like, it's kind of hard to keep him out.
See, like, I can live with LSU in the number 10 spot because it's like, you know what, like, when I think about it now, because it's like, yeah, because like I get my head stuck back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and so on and so on. You know, Nebraska drop. Like I always had Nebraska in the top 8, but if you want to drop them a spot, I mean, they've been so dormant. Georgia is like recency bias, in my opinion, and like because there's not enough consistency for me with Georgia to be like in that spot. Texas is there for their logo. I'm sorry, like they just are, and to an extent, Michigan is too. But like to me, Michigan should be lower. Like,
let me ask you this though. I got one for you then. Why isn't Florida State on here?
I think the problem, and this is a problem for all the Florida schools, because Florida State kind of like, you know, Bob Brown took over like late 70s, and they didn't really emerge. Like they were kind of like they were pretty consistent in the 80s, but they didn't become Florida State until like the early 90s. Like, you could argue Miami should be in there if you could argue Florida State, but it's like Miami players will say, well, they were a popcorn dynasty. They weren't part of the old tradition. So that's one of the reasons people were like, we could all recap the U's part 1 and 2 all we want, but it's it's just the Florida schools have that. Like, I think in another generation or so, you could probably like have conversations about Florida State, Miami, and Florida. Because there was until recently, my entire childhood up till a couple years ago, like Florida was consistently good, and now they're just like trash, and it's just weird to see the Florida Gators. Like, I don't know how it's always difficult for me to imagine a major power in a state like Florida to be that bad. It's one thing if you don't win the SEC or don't win a net, or like if you're. But to be as bad as they are is like inexcusable. There is too much talent in your state for you to be this bad. Period.
Yeah, and they can't keep that much of it, which is even crazier. Between them and Miami, there's so much talent there. You can fund 3 schools no problem with Miami, Florida State, as well as Florida, and yet and still They're all time they couldn't be there, but at the
That's
same
why I
time,
rip. That's why I rip. That's why I rip Texas all the time. I was like, there is no excuse for you to suck ever. Period.
yeah.
Like SC has no reason to suck ever. Texas has
But
no reason to suck ever. Period.
that's the funny thing is when you think about the flagship schools for those states, there's no excuse. Georgia too, and Georgia finally got back up, which I'll give them this prop. They have always been contenders, 9, 10 win seasons, 8 occasionally, but they've been consistent in that capacity. It's just getting over that hump they never could do.
They
especially
were
with Mark Richt.
Mark Richt was just
Richt,
a Mark Richt was a guy. God bless him. He literally was Sideshow Bob with like the rakes. Like he came that close and then he just walked right into a rake in like 2012 SEC championship game. A 5 yards, rake. Just like, just like, you could go back to 05. There was a year he should have been more contender. Like 02 was another year. It was just, they always came so close. 07 was another year. Like there were so many like really solid Georgia teams, but they just couldn't. And then Kirby finally broke their curse, and it was one of the most magical ways to do it too. So I give like props to that fan base who've been starving for, to win something, and now they're the big bad beast on the block. Like Uga is like, Uga was always voted the most popular like college mascot. Now it's like, they're living up to the hype and the valor of that, but. Yeah, Ohio State, like they were like that. OU and Ohio State were like 1A and 1A with like most consistent programs. Like they never really went away. Like even in the '90s when they couldn't beat Michigan, they were still there. You had the year with Eddie George and whatnot, but it's just and Notre Dame's at 5 because they're the Coca-Cola of the sport. I mean, you can't.
That's
like,
the one I don't get.
If you open up a fast food chain, you have Coca-Cola. I'm just saying, or it's just what it is. So
I mean, some do Pepsi.
Yeah, like Taco Bell, Pizza Hut combo, whatever they do the Pepsi thing. Like here, my thing with Notre Dame, like I heard when this came out, Notre Dame fans got mad. We should be number 1. Like my brothers in Christ. No, no, you are not number 1. You like I know I'm the bowl games don't matter guy anymore, but for the most part, it's like, well, the big ones will matter because they're in the playoff now, all of them. But Notre Dame, y'all haven't won a major bowl game that mattered since like '93, I think. Like, I think they beat A&M the Cotton Bowl or Sugar Bowl or something like that. It's like, dude, like you had a gift. You played Oklahoma State one year and you lost that.
Yeah, how do you lose to Oklahoma State?
I know who does that. Who loses to Oklahoma State? But seriously, it's like Notre Dame will always be in the top 5 blue blood because they, again, it's like they're just so entrenched in pop culture. Yeah. Like you can't get rid of it. So whenever they get good, the people, so like there's certain brands that will always get more coverage than they deserve. SC is one of them. Notre Dame is one of them. Michigan's one of them. And Texas. Those are kind of the ones, like, it doesn't matter how good or bad they are, they will get talked about. Like schools like Alabama, Oklahoma, Nebraska, you have to be so good that you are forced to be talked about. That's why when you hear stupid crap like Colin Cowherd say, is Oklahoma the next program to disappear in our lifetime? And I'm like, they don't want to talk about you because you have a state with low population and it's a very tight-knit fan base. We don't have the giant fan base like Ohio State or Michigan does. So if Alabama dips at some point, they will stop talking about Alabama to an extent. Now they'll bring them up as like, remember when Saban was there? They'll do that type of stuff. But if
Saban was in this era, correct?
Yeah, but if Alabama dips in 20 years later, they're still not doing anything like Nebraska, they will stop talking about Alabama. Why? Because Alabama is a state in the South, and it's like nothing personal, but like Alabama, whenever Alabama got talked about, it was always Saban.
Yes.
Every time it was Saban, because there's always that little caveat. Will we go back to the pros? Because they'd always sneak that little conversation in there too. But it was always Alabama was never about a player. Maybe Tua at some points, but early Saban years, there was no high profile quarterback worth talking about. All due respect, no one that was going to the pros and do anything.
That's true.
Sorry, AJ McCarron. I'm sorry, but the truth is, it was like
I mean,
damn
they
insane.
literally, yeah, it was, yeah. I mean, and that was the era of the SEC where offenses, like someone asked, was it my guy James or somebody else that asked this in one of the comments in one of my videos? The theory, I think it was James. It was like, what innovation in the offense did we ever get from the SEC? Because right now, the
Steve
SEC is
Spurrier.
running all Big 12 offenses at this point. Now, Spurrier is a good example.
Spurrier destroyed the league when he had the fun and gun or whatever or the run and gun, or I forget what he called it, but like, he brought the passing game to the SEC basically, and just owned, and he won 6 conference titles because of it. This is what I always talk. People say the SEC has always been this. No. When I grew up in the state of Florida, there was one game that mattered. It was either in Tallahassee or Gainesville. It was between those two teams. Florida's playing Auburn. I don't care. When are they playing Florida State? The casuals. Nobody cared about playing Tennessee. Sorry, but it's the truth. The casuals cared about one game. Florida State. And I was the kid.
It was Bowden versus Spurrier. It was legend versus legend.
Yeah, and so Spurrier probably should have gotten one more, but he got his in '96, and hell. It was like that decade. Like I'm trying slowly but surely. I'm trying to do my own little YouTube series about that 2000 season. Speaking of everyone loving that year to talk about in the chat, but I want to dedicate like a chapter to 90s college football, because I love 90s college football despite the fact that OU sucked. 90s college football was fun to watch.
It really was.
And it was just like, so that's why whenever I think of that 2000 year, even though it was technically the year 2000, that was like the very tail end of what 90s college football was, and it felt so good for OU to feel like they were part of it. And that's another little wrinkle or icing on the cake. Just like, not only did you win that and run off like one of the greatest magical seasons with like outside of maybe 02 Ohio State, the last great that was a straight up college team. It wasn't a full of pros. All due respect to Roy Williams and a few other guys, maybe, but that was a straight up college football team. If you want to win it all, you got to have if you don't have 6 number 1 draft picks on your defense, you ain't winning shit.
No, and you're right, and that's what you had to have then. And Oklahoma, like you said, we came in 2000 and showed up, and it went from 2000 to 2003, basically being at number 1, leading it in some capacity, and just. Then we started dealing with injury bugs and dumb injury bugs at the wrong people at the wrong times, and
we never got that OU Miami matchup. But oh well,
that would have been amazing. And so with that, got a question in here that I think Onikuno, I would love for you to give us the love on. Kim asks, how many yards do you think that Bauer will have next season?
A Bauer Sharp?
Yeah. How much tight end action are we expecting?
This is Seth Luttrell we're talking about too. I don't think the yardage is gonna. I'm under. That's not the number I'm looking at. I'm looking at what kind of red zone, numbers he's gonna get. How many touchdowns he's gonna get. So I don't think the yards matter. I think he might crack 500. I think he'll crack. I think he'll crack 500, because I think he's going to be more dangerous in the red zone than any place else. That's just the way I look at it. So, because like you got like Deion Burks, who like I never got to bring this up, is like Deion Burks has like the most charming personality if you ever hear him interviewed. It's like,
oh my god, he's great.
I love that dude, man. Like I was thinking about him today. Like Deion Burks feels like the guy in like an '80s like romantic comedy movie where a guy moves to a beach town, and like Deion Burks is like. He runs his uncle's surf shop that he inherited from him. And he's the guy who invites you to the party where you meet the girl that you fall in love with, and you got to win the surf competition in order to win her heart. And he's the guy who sells you the surfboard to help you get. That's what Deion Burks is, man. He's the guy who runs the surf shop in the 80s movie, who's like the nicest guy in the world. That's a weird rant I went on about that, but that's just like, that's the energy he gives out, that positive vibes, man.
I do like that. Like, yeah, he's like he's got that gnarly, totally dude type personality.
Yeah,
that you would get.
He's just happy to be there, and he's just the best at what he does.
And James was the one that did ask that question, which is good. In that one, offense, defense, X's and O's in the last 20 years. That's post Spurrier. So yeah, as we think about it and talk about this, and you mentioned AJ McCarron, they had with Blake Sims and all of that in the Saban era of football, they didn't really have quarterbacks. And in the SEC, honestly, it was just pound game, like pound the ball.
That's
LSU
why we were able to
didn't
win
have
that
anything.
game in 2013 because we were going against a spread offense. It was like a 3 yards, a cloud of dust, play action type. It's like, so you could just set Eric Stryker and Gino Grissom loose. Yeah. AJ not going to beat you with it's like, yeah, because we got our ass beat by Baylor, and like they're high powered and and
that was the that wasn't the rule one. That was Art Brow. That was the Art Brow era of just ridiculous. That was the bear raid is what they called it, if I'm correct. Yeah. And it was confusing. It was so much movement. It was, the running concepts were just all
Alabama's offense was basically to outmuscle you.
Yeah, hand the ball off. Who's the strongest?
Yeah. And they should have
man versus man, mono and mono.
And if they just gave the ball to Derrick Henry more, they probably would have won going away.
Yeah, that's true. And we did a good job of just making all their corners have to stretch the field and secondary and linebackers and just threw it all over their butts, and they weren't ready for that. So because they didn't see that anywhere else in the SEC. So that's actually a good point. I didn't think about it that way. So, all right, yeah, no, I think we're basically wrap this bad boy up with a bow on it, man. We've been here for about an hour. Sean, man, thank you again for pulling up. I knew it was gonna be fun because I knew he was gonna get you to get us at least 1 or 2 rants, and we got 2 small ones out of it. Now they weren't your traditional 9 to 10 minute straights, but you did give us a couple of 2 to 3 minutes.
Well, there wasn't a whole lot of cursing on my end, so it's like I feel like
I'm very impressed by you. I'm proud of you for that because
people say, why do you curse? It's like because I was in the Army for 8 years and calling someone a mother effer means like friend. Like for real, it's like
a term of endearment.
It really is.
Capacity, yeah.
Like, because people misunderstand me on Twitter sometimes, and like I don't mean any like negativity. It's just like I'm gonna go to bed now. I need to get off this. Because like, so why don't you leave Twitter or social media? It's like, what I do, I can't. I'm stuck.
You've got to be.
If I was
to be active, you have to be at least a lurker.
If I was a civilian and was just a casual person with another job, I was like, yeah, I would just like I would delete all this. I would like
it been gone.
Get rid of it.
Yeah, and just the fact that we enjoy doing the YouTubes and we've got all these great followings, it makes it you can't be disconnected like that. Like I would go to a remote island too and just.
Oh yeah, I told a buddy of mine today if I won Powerball, you'd never see me again.
Ever. Because I mean, I love football though. I may fly in for a football game here or there, but
I will build a bunker, like luxury, like kind of apartment type thing, and I'll just be like, I'll be like the Ninja Turtles, and like when the Domino's Pizza guy is like, "You're standing on it, dude. Just slip it down here.
Just drop it. it. I'll get it." But Lemon wants you to drop that F your brand. You go ahead and do that. You need to make a shirt actually that says that.
I don't want to say F words on here because I know you tend not to curse on here, so I try to respect that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, but we need to go ahead and
I said the S word a little bit because I figured that's okay, but
it's safe. Yeah, it's good. Like, I have a few watchers that enjoy the fact that we don't really curse on here, so
yeah, that's why I try to. So it's like
a little bit of that, but no, we need to get that brand going though. I think that would be nice. Get some T-shirts that says "F your brand," put like the asterisks on it, or like OU logos next to it, or something similar.
I don't know if I can get away with actual college logos because they kind of frown upon that.
Yeah, they do frown upon that a little bit. But if you make them yourself and give them away or sell them or something, I don't think anybody.
I don't know. So you could do merch of what? It's like someone wanted me to put my.
You should put your face.
No, someone wanted me to say you should sell a shirt with your Twitter profile, and it's like. That's technically not mine. So I think the fine folks at Fox or whoever owns the rights to the Critic would not be happy with me.
That's actually a pretty good point.
Because the joke Mr. Pilkington comes from the cartoon The Critic, where they made this is how old that cartoon is. They made a fake Jurassic Park 2 trailer. That's how old that cartoon is. So it was like post 93, pre 96 or 7 or whatever. And it's like it's like one of my favorite jokes ever. I beg to differ. The other Raptors and I have constructed a crude suspension bridge to Venezuela. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll make a T-shirt one day or something. But
probably do that.
But yeah, for Texas and all of their wonderful hype they're getting this year, especially Arch Manning, who's Archibald is too good to be in the video game. He's just better than everybody.
Hey, no, for him the biggest thing is he's got to be focused. Focus on the task.
Jackson Arnold is not focused because he's in the video game. Not focused.
He thinks that video games are important for him, and that's just.
I will not
Venables
take
appreciates
$1 of NIL money. Yeah, because you a nepo baby. You ain't starving like some other.
Right. He's like literally, a Manning. Like, why you don't need to take any of that. But
Everyone's telling me I need to get your Discord or whatever. Someone's.
yeah, the constant. We'll get
It's
you in there.
it's a Patreon Discord, right?
No, it's not. It's not.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll get in the Discord.
Yeah, I'm gonna send. We're gonna send you the link and get you in there.
Because maybe if you told me to pay for it, I'd say fuck your brand. There.
We close it out.
There we go.
Thank y'all for pulling up. Please hit the like button if you're new to the channel. Subscribe. Go check out Sean Onikuno or here on the tubes. He talks a lot about OU.
Please donate.
Talks softball.
Yes. I will be at the UCF softball games next week in Orlando. So
I forgot.
So I may be that weird. I will have I have an actual ticket for the Sunday game, but the other ones I'll be other places. So
okay.
Anyway, so please, for the love of God, donate to my channel. Go to my channel and donate. Like I'm starving in the off season. Please, I beg of you.
He's a starving artist right now.
I am. I have no shame is out the window. It's like I need the cash to make it for the fall. I'm not kidding. Please.
No shame in his life. So that's hilarious. All right. Y'all know where to find us. Go to our channels, like, subscribe, all that jazz. And we'll talk soon. Peace.